Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking to myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from the 25th. This is the last video that wraps up this session, and we're going to be asking about some dreams. I know many of you enjoy dream interpretation. I do too. Dreams are one easy way to receive a lot of information, just because my NPC mind is not in the way trying to interpret things. So information comes through much more in the flow. And then, of course, it's not always clear. That's why I asked the 25th about it, even though sometimes I'm good about realizing some things, especially if it's themes that have been recurring. Some other times I really need the 25th to add the nuances and all of that. So here we are. Lorrayne. Okay, so this is a dream from the 18th of July. I believe this is the last dream. Clea says, I had a dream where I was staying at a friend's super swanky new condo. It was super expensive to live there because it included some services you had to pay for, like a butler, etc. I thought it was nice to have that service, but that it didn't make any sense financially. Then I saw her, and she was so fat that she looked completely different. I knew it was her, but she didn't look like herself. I thought she had lost herself. Perhaps it's because of the photo I saw of Jack, and Jack is my ex-husband. That's not his real name. Yesterday, where he looks deformed and virtually unrecognizable. And it is freaky, guys, to see a person that is so different. That doesn't even look like a real person anymore. And I do know that he's been gone for a while, so I think that's part of it. But from a 3D perspective, it's just very, very strange. So I was traumatized when I saw it. I kept thinking of the portrait of Dorian Gray. I know he's in the 25th, which explains this, but he was supposed to pass last year, which might have been better for him. His family cannot be happy about what's happening to him. Then in the dream, I was sitting with a bunch of very established men, and a man came in and asked what he should do with his property for Airbnb purposes. He didn't even look my way, not wanting to hear from me, assuming I knew nothing about business. But just so happens, I was the only one in the group who knew real estate. I tried to tell him, but he was not taking me seriously, and the dream ended. I was left to think how stupid, how our arrogance keeps us from so many good things. Me. Yeah, so basically the first part where she refers to her friend looking completely different, of course her friend is also gone, so she's an NPC. And we are talking about 3D reality. And of course, it is because of what came up with Jack, her ex-husband, which she says it was traumatizing for her to see how much he's changed. It does not look like even someone that she knew. And not only she can see that he's gone, like there is no light in his eyes, he's completely gone. And this is what's happening. It's just reminding Clea again that, her friends are gone. Everybody she knew is gone, with a very small exception of a few people. And so this is very tough for her to deal with. And then the last part where she says his family might have been better off. Truth is, she didn't want to deal with it, and she's aware of it. She did not want to go to his funeral. She would have been invited, and she didn't want to see any of them. So she's actually, and of course, he willed to leave. He decided eventually to leave his NPC behind, but she also did not want to. She intended not to have to deal with any of that. So this was the intention, the overall intention for him not to leave, not to pass away, which is what happened. But I mean, he is a shell of a person, and that's pretty much almost literally even at 3D level. Yeah, his family is not happy about it. The last part has to do with, again, the isolation, where we feel like we're different and we're not being heeded because in 3D, we're cut off. So at 3D level, we're not being given the weight, we're not being given the consideration, even though we know things. And so that's what it is, because at the end of the day, this guy was missing out. This guy basically stubbornly, because he had certain expectations of reality, certain assumptions about reality, he missed an opportunity because Clea was going to offer him the advice that he wanted, he needed. So now what was going to happen? He was just going to miss out and he was going to lose money. So it was a mistake, really, in Clea's opinion, but it is what it is. We have dealt with, if you want to think about it, with lots of mistakes. We really dealt with this reality in very low vibrational ways. And we know this. We have talked about this from the beginning, which is the reason we're having a takedown. But the point was that we have wasted, this dream really was bringing up a lot of what's happening in 3D reality. And the fact is, we have wasted a lot of opportunities. We have, again, most people, all people really, in this dream are gone. And the version of reality we have now is like a shell. It's like a pale version of what it was before. Her friend doesn't look anything like it did before because she looks like a balloon, really, when her friend was very fit and very cute. And so while on the surface, it looks like she's still enjoying, financially, she has a nice place, et cetera, she's a shadow of her old self. She has lost herself, is what Clea felt in the dream. She's lost, she's gone. And same thing with her ex-husband. I mean, he might be doing well, which he is. Who knows? Clea doesn't know if he is, but he's a shell. He's no longer, he's like, again, not even a shadow of his old self. She thinks of him as the portrait of Dorian Gray. And if you're not familiar with that story, it's the one where basically this person, Dorian Gray, had a portrait of himself given to him. This was a story by Oscar Wilde. He had a portrait given to him, and he realized that everything evil that he did would not show up on his face, but would show up on the face of this portrait. And so years later, the person still looked like a young person, but the portrait looked decrepit and just ugly and evil. And basically, it was like the soul. It was like the soul of the person that had been transferred to the portrait. And this is what Clea thinks about every time she thinks of her ex-husband, that basically has showed up on his face. He is the portrait. Everything that he has done has shown up on his face. And it looks like something went very wrong. And of course, she's sorry to see that. This is so traumatizing to her because this is someone she used to care about. And at the same time, someone that she doesn't hold resentment against now because she realized the role he's played in her life. And so she just doesn't understand. Why do we have to see this? Which goes to the bigger point, which is, why are we still here? Why do we have to deal with this? This is not pretty. This is ugly. He looked ugly. Her friend, who is her best friend, looked ugly. Didn't look anything like who they were before. Why are we still dealing with this? And you can see the themes coming up again and again of the frustration and the sadness, really. It is the sadness of the situation because we are sad at the situation beyond even being frustrated, which is the reason we are so impatient to get out, because we don't want to deal with this anymore. We want to move on to better things. And while we will have a period of integration, it is going to be much better because look, we're already doing a lot of the work now, and we don't even have the upside of saying, hey, but at least my daily reality is so much happier, because we are going to be so much happier on your earth, of course. There is no comparison. So I wanted to share this dream because even though this seems like very personal to me, the fact is we are all dealing with this, which again goes to the basic sadness of saying why we are still here. We're all seeing stuff happening with NPCs that, we might joke about it and say, oh my gosh, they're breaking down or whatever, but it's really tough to deal with. On a very basic level, I am even afraid of leaving the house now. Every time I get in the car, it's like I'm taking my life into my own hands. I used to see crazy things in St. Louis because people here drive horribly, and they were nothing compared to what I see right now. People are just like, some people are speculating that they drive high, maybe they're taking whatever they're taking. But I don't even know that you can justify it with that. There is just no sense of anything, any critical thinking in how the signage works or anything of the kind. It's craziness. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg. So I know you guys, because I know you share sometimes things that are going on in your lives, like people being evil to you or for no reason. And yeah, people are totally acting randomly. It's what it is. Lorrayne, thank you. Okay, final messages for Clea. And this is the part of the session, it's the last video of the session where we go into final messages. In the past, we used to get messages for me, messages for Lorrayne, messages for the whole, et cetera, et cetera. The thing is, they have stopped giving individual messages. Now, individual to a certain extent, I always share these with you because the fact is, there are no individuals, and therefore there are no individual messages. If something is going on with me, then it's applying to many people, and so on and so forth. In this case, I've just given up on breaking down the messages between different groups, because not only there's only one group of us left here at this point, which is the people going to New Earth, but also we are aware of it. We are aware that we're all one. So here we go. So this is the 25th. Yeah, so we'll just give final messages in general, because again, it's all us here now. There's only us here now. And we're all working through the same themes, really, the same project, the same work. We understand. I think it's clear from everything that's come up in today's session that really we think that there are two groups of people at this point. Now, we're talking about the people who have been doing this work consciously, all of us. All of us who are left at this point on this planet, who are going to New Earth, all of us have been doing this work in the background, no exceptions. At the same time, those of us that have been doing this work consciously, and there was a question that we did not answer, something that Clea wanted to know, which is how many people are still resisting this? Less and less people. In fact, Clea had a dream where there were only two people. There were only two people left. They weren't taking her on when she was saying, let's get out of here. Of course, it doesn't mean there were two people, but it does mean there is only a handful of people that are still trying to put up resistance, including this friend we talked about. And this is the person we've been talking with throughout the last, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 sessions. And the reason being that she was one of the people that was with this channel from the beginning. And then when the information became too much for her, because it was very close to home and she realized that her loved ones are all gone, she basically decided that no, this cannot be right, cannot be true. And of course, and I've been asking about her, one, because of course I was initially concerned for her. I'm no longer concerned because I realized she's a master and she's doing exactly what she needs to be doing, but also because she has been kind of a barometer for me to see where we are with resistance. And so this is why the 25th refers to her. So in regards to all of this, this is what we want to say. We like to think that there are these two groups of people, where there is us, because we do want to believe in the separation. We still playing this game. There is us. We have completed the work. We have become aware. We are ready to go. And there is them. We know they've completed the work. We said this from the beginning. The energy is there. The job, the project is done, but they're putting up resistance. And so all of a sudden, it's again, us against them. Always the old game that we're playing here, and not against, because we, of course, have any bad feelings towards these people. But we do like to think, oh, because of them, we're stuck here, or whatever it is that we phrase it. There is no two of us. This is what we were referring to earlier. We are all in the same spot. Even the people that are resisting, they already know. And we're not saying they know at higher self level. Of course, that's a moot point. The higher self knows everything. It is one higher self. We are saying to you, we are telling you, these people know consciously as well. And they just emotionally don't want to admit it. So they correct themselves. They remind themselves all the time, no, that's crazy. No, that can't be right. Oh no, I need to distract myself. I gotta stop thinking about this. This is where you see the resistance. They say, oh no, that's bad news. No. This is happening because they know, they tell themselves, because you cannot, the same conscious awareness that you have, Lorrayne, all of us have the same conscious awareness if we've chosen to do this work consciously. And therefore, even these people that are putting up resistance, they have the same conscious awareness as you. So they know the same breakthroughs you've had, the same realizations you've had, the same acknowledgements you have. This is the only reason they're putting up resistance, because they know they wouldn't need to put up resistance if they didn't already know. So they know, they see what we see, they sense what we sense. They're like, whoa. And they're like, oh no, come on, let's let that go. You know, that girl put that in my head. That's not real. So this is what's happening. So there are no two groups of people. We are one. That's what we mean when we say we're completed. We have finished the project. The second that it feels safer for these last few, we call them stragglers. But again, we don't mean to make it sound like there's any judgment or the fact that they are somehow behind. They're not behind. There is nobody who is ahead or behind. We all have completed the project together. What's happening is that As soon as the emotion comes down to the point where it becomes obvious and you cannot avoid it anymore, and you're like, you know what? I'm not crazy. I mean, clearly there's something here, and I'm ready to see it at least, or at least to let it go and not fight myself when I see it and when I know it. We're going to be able to affect this recall. And after that, the idea is that we're leaving. And right now, we can tell you, based on how you feel and everything else, your idea is still to leave, and most likely you will leave. That said, we have surprised ourselves before. So we're not going to tell you this is what's going to happen, because it's really up to you. But at the same time, we are telling you, everyone who has done this work consciously, and certainly people who have listened to this channel have done this work consciously. Otherwise, they would have not run into this channel in the first place. Doesn't matter what you decided to do with the information later. These people already know, because their higher self, you cannot ignore the higher self. We are the higher self. So we know that here, we still like to think that at 3D level, but our NPC is not conscious. Oh no, this veil that we talk about is very, very thin, to the point that we now know where we're not here, and we come back and we're like, oh shoot, I was not here. How do we know? Because we look at what we've been doing, and that's so repetitive and so monotonous and so silly, where you just go in circles in your head and you're like, man, this is terrible. This is boring. What the hell is going on here? Because we know. That's how thin the veil is. This would have never happened to you years ago. You would have never thought, oh, here's me coming back into my body. You would have thought, what is wrong with me? Am I crazy? And now we don't even question it, because we see it, we sense it. We are past the time when we wanted to gloss over all the glitches. We are way past that. We see glitches everywhere now. And this is one of the biggest glitches, where we're like, we're aware that we're not here. We're not here all the time. We used to think we were here all the time. We used to believe, we allowed ourselves to believe that maybe during sleep time we would be traveling, but not all of us, because even with dreams, many of us thought, oh, it's just a dream. It's not real. And now look at us. We're like, yeah, it's obvious. I'm not even here during the day. And you see this coming up more and more in the Telegram group. It's like, what's going on? This is what's going on. This is what we mean when we say we don't even care enough to keep our own personal shell in place the way that it was before. This is what we mean when we say the veil is thinning. And it is a big deal, because if it's thinning for one, it's thinning for all. So these people will say this again. We said it before. These people will need emotional help. They'll need our help, because these people are struggling, but they already know. And again, we don't mean they know at a higher self level where you're like, oh, I can ignore it. They cannot ignore it. They're fighting a battle right now, telling themselves, I'm just imagining things. And so they do need our help, because it is tough. All of us are very, very emotional. And this is what we discussed when we said, absolutely, Lorrayne, go on that trip if that's what you wish to do. Just be aware that it's not going to be as easy or as pleasant necessarily. And we don't mean pleasant as in it's going to be unpleasant, but it's not going to be as emotionally untaxing as your previous trip, where you actually just had a lot of joy and a lot of the pleasantness, that you exchanged with your mother specifically, and you were very happy about it. It's going to be definitely bittersweet for you, but this is part of the work that you're doing as well. So of course, it's all bridging the gap to the knowledge that not only we already have at a conscious level, but also that will be very obvious, even from an observable perspective, once we move to New Earth. So obviously, if this has come to you, it's because it is something that you feel ready to tackle, or you wouldn't be doing it, of course. You are an ascended master after all. These things don't just happen willy-nilly for no reason. Lorrayne, thank you so much. Do you have anything that you want to say to the greater group? Me. Yeah, so we will just say, we'll comment on one last thing that Clea mentioned at the end of our session that's being released right now. And this is the last session that was released before this one. She mentioned in the beginning of the session that's being released right now, that she's not going to do regular sessions anymore. But if anything comes up, she'll definitely find a way to let everyone know, everyone who's doing this work consciously. At the same time, we don't know if we're going to connect in this manner again, because again, Clea is now working on different aspects of what it means to be here after the 13th hour at this point, and they were laughing, just like you are, Lorrayne. So she also wants to fill her reality with other things that will allow her to be more patient, even though 3D is just not as satisfactory as it used to be for any of us, really. So even though she's distracting herself with real estate and she does enjoy it, it's nothing compared to how she used to enjoy it in the past, because she's aware it's just a game. It's not real, none of it. That she's making it all up, including the people she's interacting with. So that said, though, she's exhausted. We all are exhausted, but she's exhausted by this entire process. And of course, she's always connected. And again, she will pass on information, but this might, unless she decides otherwise, might be, if not the last, one of the very, very last, depending on how much longer we are here for, one of our last sessions. So we don't know if we'll have another chance to connect in this manner. No matter what happens, you guys are doing exactly what you need to be doing. And we already said how grateful we are to have been able to participate in this process. This is a process that has changed absolutely everything and forever. And we are just overwhelmed. We are in awe of what has transpired here. And by the time that the dust settles and you'll be on your earth, you will barely believe what you've been able to achieve here. You will be proud of yourselves and you'll know why you did all of this and you put up with all of this. And all the challenges you're going through will be justified in your own mind. This is not something that we're asking you to believe. You will see for yourselves, because truly, in hindsight, as difficult as this is, and it didn't need to be this difficult, we are not saying, because Clea always says, well, I wish I didn't have to do that, though. I wish it would have been easier. But the fact is, we are where we are. We're doing what we're doing. It is something we had decided to do a long time ago. So that's why we didn't change things, where we would get to an outcome where we wouldn't have to do this takedown. It is unfortunate. It is also unfortunate that we said, well, we're doing a takedown anyway, so we might as well not change things. It is all decisions. We already said that we made many mistakes, or at least we have done things. This is how we think about it from a 3D perspective. We made mistakes. In reality, we just didn't know. We were going along with things, and this is the result. But considering the low vibe, the negative polarity we've had here, the darkness, the extreme darkness we've experienced, and everything else we have done, it is beyond incredible what we are doing. And while it is hard and you feel like a day is an eternity, and you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm dealing with my NPC, and I'm aware that my NPC is an NPC, and that I'm here, and that I'm being an NPC right now, and I keep repeating the same things, and I'm driving myself crazy, and it's so boring and everything, you will realize it's fine. We don't want to say it's great, but it was definitely worth it, and it is fine. Well, you definitely have learned. We all learned something new that we didn't know before. And we hope, we expect that we're never going to repeat anything like this again. Even though it's unpleasant what we're going through, it is something that will make sure that doesn't repeat itself. And so we will definitely be watching out for this. So it is worth it. We just want to close on these words and remind you one more time that all of this is not wasted effort, as painful as it is. But the reason we are tackling it is because we can. We are ascended masters. And here's the thing, you don't have to believe us and think we're talking at a higher self level only. We are showing mastery right now. Right now, in this moment, on this 3D planet, we are showing mastery, and everybody's watching. Lorrayne, beautiful, thank you. All right, thank you for talking with us today, and we'll now end the session. There is so much to say about this, guys. I am just overwhelmed by everything. And I know I'm not the only one if I'm feeling this way. It is even hard for me to read about, some of these dreams that I've had and to even remember them, which is the reason why many of us forget our dreams, because they do deal with things. They go to the core of how emotional we are. And at any rate, as I said previously in the session, and I've said before, I am proud of us, even without knowing, without having the full visibility of everything from behind the scenes. I know we are doing some incredible things. I just know it. I see it. I see how we react to things, and it's not easy. We could definitely take the lower vibrational path, but we choose not to because we have changed everything. So I am so astounded. I'm not even impressed. Impressed feels like such an underwhelming word. I'm astounded by what we pulled together. Just this community, it's been such a comfort to me, such a support emotionally for this work that I have done, that we're all doing, really. And and it's just incredible. So the good news is that I did do one more session. I'm transcribing it right now, and I hope to release it right after this one finishes releasing. I hope to have it ready basically in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully there will be no gap between this and the next session. So while it might still be one of my last sessions, we do have more coming, and I actually have something really, really crazy and fun in store for you. So hang in there. Thank you as always for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you enjoyed it at least as much as I did, because it was definitely very worthwhile for me to do. And this is always the biggest reward for all of this for me, in my opinion. And of course the fact that you guys, I get to interact with you. And so please do comment, let me know where you are. We're all in this together, like for real this time, not the way we've been told in the news over the last 3 years. All right, take care of yourselves. Bye.